Music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and something that's bugging me. And so I'm doing another video about it. Of course, doing it in real time for a couple of people out here, just like you and just like me. Quick reminder, if you want to support the channel, yeah, it's the begging part. He's always begging. No, if you want to support the channel, there's Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Here's the coffee. It's empty. It's all right. Just saying it's empty. YouTube memberships and PJ Rock super chats, ways that you can support my humble little channel here as I talk music and politics and current events and whatever I want to talk about. If it's a slow day in the music world, I'm probably going to be talking about something else. And it's often a slow day in the music world, at least the music that I am all about, which is mostly older stuff, but the newer stuff nobody seems to care about. The newer stuff. I do have a CD here that is still sitting on my desk. Mickey and the Motor Cars. Told people to check this out. A couple of people said it was all right. So I don't know. So I'm still kind of bothered by this Bad Company induction into the Hall of Fame. Not that I don't think they deserve to go in. I do 100%. This should have happened years ago, right? Bad Company, come on. But to ignore the Brian Howe contributions to Bad Company, I don't know, man. It just bothers me. I mean, in the early 80s, that band was in turmoil. People weren't getting along. I believe there was a fist fight at one point, maybe in the studio, maybe on stage. I can't really remember that last album they put out called Rough Diamonds. That title was talking about the fact that it was really rough making that album, and there are diamonds. Yeah, there's some really good stuff on that, but nobody was really that enthusiastic about making that album. And so the band breaks up, and the record label guys got together and they said, hey, maybe we can revive this brand. The guys went along with it. Ted Nugent had this singer who was killing it with Ted. Go back and listen to Tied Up in Love if you haven't heard that. It's a pretty amazing song. Perfect Ted Nugent song, by the way, Tied Up in Love, with Brian Howe singing. And so the record label, which I think was Atlantic at the time, said, hey, why not revive this brand? They thought about calling it something else. People are kind of like, yeah, maybe they should have called it something else. Okay, well, they didn't. All right. They called it Bad Company. They were an established brand, and they had Simon and they had Boz and they had Mick, right? They had all those guys still, at least initially. I think Boz bailed really fast. And so you still had Simon and Mick, and you had Brian, and you had Terry Thomas, a producer who did a phenomenal job, and Brian Howe writing these fantastic songs. The first album, didn't do all that well, but it did get the band some notice. It was a big change in the sound, lots of keyboards. By Dangerous Age, which I think is my favorite of the four studio albums that Brian Howe did with Bad Company, that thing just cooks, man. That is just such a great record, although Holy Water, which was next, was the most successful album in the Brian Howe era, selling, I believe, over 1 million copies. And you're getting over on Top 40 with If You Needed Somebody. Holy Water, the title track, was a #1 mainstream rock song, and it deserved it. It was just a barn burner song. And then they had other radio songs on rock stations. Boys Cry Tough, which was a real sad story if you go listen to the song. Stranger, Stranger, Walk Through Fire, but they were all about fire. They had No Smoke Without a Fire on Dangerous Age. I thought Brian Howe was an amazing singer. He passed away over 5 years ago now, back in 2020. He had cardiac stuff going on for a few years before that, and this was pre-COVID era, so I can't I can't say anything about that because that's probably not the issue with Brian. Um, but even toward the end of his life, just sang his butt off, man. He was just, I found some more recent concerts with Brian singing from like 2018, 2019, and the dude was still just on point vocally. And from all accounts, a really nice human being. Friends with Ted Nugent. I don't know. Maybe that's why Ted influenced his thoughts and his views on certain issues. And maybe that's what did it to Brian Howe. I don't know. I had Ted Nugent on my show on the other channel, and he talked about Brian, and he loved Brian. He thought Brian was the best. And so maybe that's Brian's problem. He's part of the Ted Nugent inner circle of friends. And so even though he's dead, he can't be posthumously recognized. At least just my hope is they'll just talk about Brian Howe for continuing the brand on. And again, after they break up again, the Brian Howe era breaks up. I think they had a singer for a while, a different singer, and I should know the guy's name because he's a really good singer. Is it Robert Hart, I think? And then eventually, Paul comes back and they resuscitate the 70s version of the band, and they go out there and they, do quite well for a number of years touring and stuff, and then it slows down and then it stops, and it's pretty much, non-existent now. Paul's got health issues, and Mick is gone, and I know Simon is still around. I think Boz is probably gone too. I'm not sure. But in any event, my point, and I do have one, folks, is that Brian Howe was a great singer. He wrote great songs, and people should recognize his contribution to Bad Company. That's it. And you're obviously not inducting him, which I personally think is a mistake. But, the old timers, the people are going to separate the two bands, and they're not even going to think about the band after Paul Rodgers and then before Paul Rodgers when Paul comes back. They really should. They really should. That was a cool band. It was a different sound. It was arena-driven rock. It had a different feel to it. But certainly, it's kind of like the two versions of Van Halen. There's the Roth era and the Hagar era, and this was a new era of the band. And obviously people liked it because they bought the albums and wore them out. Yours truly being a huge fan of the Brian Howe era of Bad Company. And Brian created a lot of great solo music as well that you can go digging through, and you'll find some amazing tracks. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. I wanted to keep talking about it prior to the Hall of Fame, official Hall of Fame induction. I'm hoping someone who's going to go watch that, because I won't watch it because I think it's a pay-per-view thing. Let me know if they say anything about Brian Howe. My guess is they probably won't. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Again, if you're into new material, there's Mickey and the Motor Cars. It's kind of like West Texas rock with some country influences. I think you might enjoy it. Again, if you want to support this channel, I did that at the beginning. Patreon, I'll do it again. Buy me a coffee, YouTube memberships, PJ Rock Super Chats. And that's it. God bless everyone. See you soon.